Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here, and in this video, Chris Pearson and I tear down several big blogs. So we're looking at Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn, huge fan of his. We look at Ramit Sethi's I Will Teach You to Be Rich. We look at Marie Forleo's site as well. We also take a look at Chris's site, DIYThemes, and my own site, Niche Site Project. So buckle up. We don't hold anything back, and we go through the pros and cons for each of the sites. In a lot of cases, I could tell you the load time and the amount of garbage that is on a site, especially the homepage, it seems to be excessive. So you'll see that as like an ongoing theme, and it's really interesting to see the progression and the different similarities that you see between these different homepages. If you do not know Chris Pearson, he is the founder of DIYThemes, all around badass, I would say. He's very smart. I'm lucky to have gone through this teardown process with him. So grab yourself a coffee or whatever your beverage of choice is and check out these teardowns. Hey, what's going on? It's Doug Cunnington here from Niche Site Project, and we have my friend Chris Pearson. How are you today?
Yes, what's up? Doing great. Good to be here again.
Awesome. And you're from DIYThemes, Thesis, and the Focus WordPress themes. So any other quick intro stuff?
You just better hope your page doesn't come into my crosshairs because I'm going to blow it up. Let's do it.
We'll do the homepage first. And I hopped over here because at one point, I got my whole start from Smart Passive Income. I found Pat's podcast and I was like, this is just fantastic. So I dove in head first, and every now and then, any good artist, I guess, I would go to my influence and then I would try and copy all their stuff. All right.
Absolutely.
So I was like, he must have some stuff going on. But I went back the other day and I was like, there are so many options here. I'm confused. There's a few green buttons. There's a few green things, and I just don't know what to do. So Chris, what do you see and how do you evaluate this?
Well, first thing I see when I'm looking at your site, or when I'm looking at your screen, it looks like the nav menu is a bit wide and not really designed. So on the left side where it says start here, you've got a click overlay where that is overlaying the logo, the license plate logo there. And that's going to create an overlapping click area, which is definitely not ideal. It's not the end of the world, but it is an indication that that was designed for a very specific context possibly, and isn't super fluid in terms of the way it adapts to different screen sizes. That's a common thing you're going to run into if you have a lot of items in the navigation menu. The question becomes, how do I handle this at different screen sizes, and what adjustments are going to be necessary? I realize this is not really related to a landing page, but it sort of is, because this ends up becoming a cascading thing that affects everything else in your page. But I have been huge on navigation menus here lately. Honestly, this has been my topic of the summer of 2019. And so what happens in a situation like this is if you have a lot of navigation menu items, like I said, you have to figure out how to accommodate them in these different views. But what happens, the typical approach has been to just shrink it all into a hamburger menu that's revealed by a click as devices get smaller. Couple problems with this approach. Problem number one, the navigation menu requires more resources to be hidden behind a click. And that's CSS resources, possibly the use of JavaScript. There's ways to do it without JavaScript, but almost every implementation you've ever seen is going to involve JavaScript. And the menu is presented differently in different screen contexts. So, for example, on a very small mobile handheld device, it's going to be a vertically oriented menu hidden behind a click. We'll go into that in a little bit. This is going to be a pervasive theme through this little talk about stuff being hidden behind a click and how that's no good. But secondary to that, you have a vertical presentation in one format and a horizontal presentation in another. Well, let's say a visitor is standing in line at Chipotle. They read a tweet. They go to your site. They are collecting visual cues and things to fall back on the next time they visit your site. Well, if the next time they visit your sites on desktop and nothing looks the freaking same, they're not going to be able to find their markers. So their ability to do wayfinding, to perform navigation, self-guided navigation, is massively affected by that. And actually, it looks to me like the links are not exactly the same between the two. They're actually different links in the different menus. So that creates a bunch of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript large S, more than needs to be there. That slows down your pages. And then you have this differing scenario that creates usability problems. And it's a bad way to do it. It is the way we have done it since 2011. It is a bad way to do it. We need to stop this because that practice does not translate. It doesn't provide any sort of navigational crossover between the various devices that people might access your site from. So that's the first thing that stands out to me. And like I said, even the execution of it in this case is not particularly good because, like I said, that those links are kind of shifting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I would love to see. Now I know Pat has very, very good opt-in numbers, but when analyzing stuff like this, you can't just say, "Oh, well, Pat does this, so this will work for me." Pat does a lot. Pat creates a brand. It's like an army that marches. You know him through his podcast. You know him through the imagery he's put out there. You know him through recommendations from others, people who say, "Oh, we love Pat." And so there is a lot to suggest. Listen to Pat. And so if he has a pop-up like this pop-up in the lower right corner, it's going to work better for him than for you because he has a reputation that precedes him and a whole lot of momentum. If you're just a random nobody, you do what Pat does, all you're doing is slowing down your site and presenting a pop-up that's going to annoy the crap out of people.
Yes, 100%. I was going to say, like, he's an exception case, like, in so many areas. But yeah, like, if I tried to do this stuff, it just wouldn't work out. I mean, actually, when I landed on the page, I was just like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. But I think it becomes a challenge, right, for somebody like Pat, who, like you said, he has, speaking, he has YouTube, the podcast is huge, the blog is huge. So like, how can a person like that, like, navigate? Like, can you have one goal for your homepage for someone like Pat?
For Pat, definitely you don't want just a single goal for the homepage. Okay, well, this is a great question. Honestly, I'll break this down every bit of it because I've been dealing with this exact thing. So number one, no, if you're Pat, no. But there are really, his challenge is how do I present what I have in a very concise way that is fast, yet still gets me the results I want. So one of the situations that he's going to encounter in anybody who has a site that's been successful over time. So like I said, people want to join his list through recommendations. His reputation precedes him. So that's one action he definitely wants people to be able to take on his homepage. Number one, join the list. Number two, listen to the podcast. That might even be number one now. He probably gets most of his engagement through his podcast, which he's been doing consistently forever. Tons of listeners. That's why he loads the podcast widget on the bottom of the homepage. A lot of the stuff that's going on here, this is not a fast web page. This is a slow, clunky, in my opinion, crappy from a technical standpoint web page. But he knows that people are coming to engage with the podcast. He knows that people are coming to engage with his income reports. And he knows that people are coming to engage with his email list, which is why he is asking for those things. It's also why he has a supplemental navigation bar for affiliate marketing. He knows that's smart passive income. That's kind of what it's founded on. The blogging thing, the email marketing, the podcasting. Now, I look at this. Now, I don't know what is selling for him and what's getting his traction and all that, but I feel like the better blogging probably shouldn't be there. Email marketing probably shouldn't be there in this manner. The podcasting, I think this whole sub-navigation menu is just there because it's like, crap, how do I present this stuff? I want it linked from the homepage. Let's just throw it on there. Here's the situation he's getting into, though. It's got two navigation menus. I've already explained how they don't display the same between mobile and desktop. So you got that's not great. But we also have a problem with user psychology here. User psychology says that you cannot give users too many options. They're not going to take any as a result. Not good. The only people who are going to be clicking on stuff in this nav menu are people who know exactly where they're going when they get here. They're not going to read all 9 options at the top. They're not going to read the next 5 and be like, which one applies to me? No. Their eyes are going to go right down to Pat's picture. And the most likely link that they're going to click on this page right now is learn more or the play button on the podcast at the bottom. I don't know his metrics, but I bet you anything that's true. I also think about in the navigation menu is popular because about is popular everywhere. What's the number one thing we want to do when we interface with the machine? We want to humanize the machine. About is how we do that. So, and now, so scroll down a little bit. Let's go through this. Pat's got a social proof here as featured in. I don't know that Pat really needs to further legitimize his stuff. I think people already get here and they already know. He's got another email opt-in there. I feel like that could probably be worked in better, especially since he's got the pop-up in the lower right-hand corner. It's just a bunch of resources for this. You can do it more simply. This section I think is worthless. Let's find out what works and these big things with these icons. First of all, people's interpretations of icons. This is by no means consistent landscape. Everyone sees this stuff the same way. False. The little gender things on restroom signs are about the only thing we can agree on as a society.
I don't think we are agreeing on those, though, are we?
And even that is up for debate. But, these take up a lot of space. They're presented horizontally here. They're going to be presented vertically on mobile. Creates a completely different vibe. This is not the cheapest thing to convey within the context of this design. It just feels like this is shoehorned in there to give like a cool thing. But I look at this, I'm saying, is it effective? Does it slow down the page load time? Does this stuff really need to be presented contextually right here in this way? My answer now is probably not, and this will ring a bell with you, given some of the stuff we've talked about with Focus recently, and that is, instead of just this, I have all this stuff to offer, let me throw all this crap on my homepage. No, that doesn't work. It doesn't work. It might satisfy you because you're like, I covered all my bases. The problem is nobody uses those bases in that manner. If you have a lot of deep concepts that you want people to connect with, the best you can do is introduce them to the funnel on your site where they can go deep on this concept. But you don't want to muddy up a homepage with too much information about this stuff. Pat's probably got, I would venture to say now, he has a huge breadth of work. He has accomplished a ton over the past decade on the internet. He has a ton of content, ton of value. There's no doubt about that. His job, and what makes this tough, is he's got to identify the 3 or 4 things that are really going to appeal to people, and he needs to build his homepage around that. Like these recent posts, absolute joke. Should not be here, should only be on the blog page. Not here. There's no point to having them here at all. All it's doing is massively increasing the page load time, also massively increasing the total number of requests necessary to serve this page. Not good. Not good. Let's keep going.
All right.
Trusted resources, that generates money for him. I think there's a better way to do that. It could be Pat's recommendations, just a special page, and that page would be worth so much money it would be stupid.
And and he has it on the resources, but to have it on the homepage is like too much, kind of like what you're saying. There's just too many options.
It's just there's too much here to consume. You can't even. My takeaway from this homepage is, wow, it seems like Pat's important, but I didn't take any action. I clicked away and went back to Twitter.
Yeah.
So.
Right. And I think like you hit a key point. And for me personally, like I don't have like a ton of people landing on my homepage. Usually they're hitting like an inner page because they Googled something. And then at that point, they're hopefully in the funnel now that we've worked together a little bit and got like a little more focus on the site, on my site personally. But in that way, it's reducing the options where someone's hitting some inner funnel area, and then they're sort of like in that silo of that funnel. So,
yes.
All right. Anything else on this page? Like, I guess overall, you were like, there's kind of a lot of options, resource heavy, but Pat is someone who does need to give someone options to get them in the right place. So, any sort of like top recommendations? Like the number one thing you're like, hey, we got to clean this part up.
Yeah. The menu options are just a disaster. He needs to get that down to 3 or 4. I recommend 4. Start here. The start here page could actually cover most of the crap that the homepage covers. I think when people come to his homepage, they're going to want to see, how do I get to the podcast? Because I just know that's number one concern for him. He wants people on his list. He can have a big splash thing like he has here to encourage people to sign up to the list. I do not think it needs to take up the whole page and be this big of a hero sort of splash. So what we call these elements that just take up the whole page, that dominate the page, have come to be known as like hero type elements. And really this is associated with a full image with an overlay, but I mean that's a little bit too nuanced for me. It's just a big damn thing that takes up the whole page. That's a hero presentation. The problem with those is they don't translate well to mobile devices. Something that's very big on desktop actually gets pretty small. A small short rectangle on a mobile device does not have nearly the same effect. I recommend it's not necessary to use all the space for one thing. It just isn't. You can use the same amount of space for the 2 or 3 things that are super important to people. And he could already have, people engaging with that without needing to scroll down through stuff, without needing to go through a bunch of self-aggrandizing things. He doesn't even need to do that anymore. That's the beauty of being established and awesome. You don't have to waste time and resources on puffing yourself up. You just don't. He could have a citations page or something like that. Like, hey, look at all these places where I've been featured. I've been featured everywhere, and the page is 10 miles long. So there's just other ways to remix content and to send people down that particular information funnel. Hey, Pat has cred. Go down this funnel. Hey, Pat has a podcast. Go down this funnel. Hey, Pat has an email list with all these affiliate marketing stuff. I know that's kind of intertwined. He could get people engaging with him, kind of lead them through the path of engagement. Hey, listen to my podcast. Join this email list. You'll learn about this type of affiliate marketing. It's establishing a process flow rather than just vomiting all of your credentials and resources upon people at one time.
Got it.
Processes, not options. Options equals people leave. And just for a tip for anyone who's going to thinking about this and kind of analyzing their own site, we are too married to the way we think our sites are performing right now. I promise you, no matter who you are, what you do, what your proposals are, you can streamline and get better engagement by reducing the amount of crap that people have to go through. Period, full stop. This applies to everyone, doesn't matter who you are. Streamlining information flows produces better engagement and better results.
Awesome. Let's move on to the next one. So another, I'm a fanboy for all these things we're looking at here today. So I will teach you to be rich, Ramit Sethi, and kind of some similar stuff going on, but.
Yes. So this is great. I actually love that we see some similarities because these are design trends. These are trends. And these are designers and website owners looking around the internet saying, oh, we see this happening. I want to do this too. Trends are the worst damn thing you can possibly do because almost every trend hinges on some measure of convenience or ego. Ego is something that the site owner, the website owner, you, whoever we're talking to here, wants to do for you. You look better. This seems strong. This seems like a good proposal. This looks good. The problem is that's all what you think. The only thing that matters to your visitors is what they think. And what visitors want is stuff to load quickly. When visitors come to your website, they do so on a promise now. 10 years ago, we went to websites because it was cool to browse websites. Unfortunately, nobody browses websites anymore. We browse social media feeds and we click through to specific pages, not necessarily home pages, whenever we see something that looks important to us. We click through on a promise. Something we can expect to find when we land on the destination website. If that site doesn't deliver on exactly that message, I click through for tips on, saving money or whatever, and I don't see that here, I'm not going to take a quiz. I'm not going to look at your nav menu. I'm just going to leave. I came on a promise. You didn't deliver. I'm out. That's the way the internet works now. We have to understand this. Social media feeds are so addictive and so dopamine rich that when people click through, if they're not satisfied immediately, they're gone. They're going to jump right back to the social media feed and look for things that continue to give them that dopamine fix. If you deliver on the promise that sent people to your website, you reinforce that dopamine feedback loop, then you can get them. You have captured their attention. But their attention's fragile. And if they come to your site and you do not capture it, you do not understand the transaction that's occurring, you will lose. And so these hero approaches, this is a stab right here. I love this. This quiz is a stab at engagement. But this is something they're testing, I'm sure, and it's getting some engagement. But who knows how people are being driven, what promise people are being driven to his homepage with. I feel like this is probably people that click start the quiz, probably taking random actions because they just know that Ramit is someone important that they should be following. And they come to the site, they're kind of just farting around, which is a small percentage of visitors too, by the way. But then they come here and they just engage with this because there's really nothing else to do. I would argue that Ramit has put enough value out there, free and paid, that he does not need to do his homepage in this manner. He could establish an engagement funnel that works better than this. And that also sells what he has better than this. But I do like that at least this is the only option people have. Now, whether or not this is the best option for them to engage with, I can't answer that. I don't have access to his site metrics or what his current goals are. But the rest of this stuff, the social proof, I don't care what you'll get. What you'll get with what? what are we getting? You just asked me to take a quiz, and now I don't even know, like this. How is this germane right now? I don't see how this matters at all.
Yeah, it's no continuity with that.
No, and he's got another call to action for the quiz. Boy, they're really pushing this quiz. I'd like to know why. Why should I take this quiz? What is this going to get me to do? I came here, you're I will teach you to be rich guy. I want some tips. Like, what? Can you not present this in this manner? Do you not know the 6 things that people look for when they come to your site? Like, Ramit has data. He knows these things. I think this is a bad homepage right now. What's beneath that last call to action?
Nothing. There's
nothing. He's limited engagement, so he's going to get engagement with the quiz. This will work to satisfy that need. It could work even better. If he's going to do this, just freaking get rid of the nav menu and all this other shit. Just get rid of it.
I was going to say, I've done this on my homepage where I've removed most of the options. No nav menu at the top. It's at the bottom, and you only have like maybe about and blog. Like those are the only 2 options, right? So you're like, get rid of the nav menu, maybe put it at the bottom, something like that?
There's just no informational process flow that tells me why I should click on anything here. There's literally nothing. And there's no promise for the quiz. It looks to me like in that section below that I said was useless, it looks like you might get some stuff after you take the quiz, like a white paper or something actionable. If so, he needs to say that up at the top, not this what you'll get. What you'll get with what?
Right. You take the quiz and then you'll realize you don't make enough money. I think that's...
Yeah. We already knew that coming in. Yeah. And I know he's not going to tell me to save $5 on lattes, which is great, but let's.
Right. And I guess the other thing to note is like we're picking folks that are well established. Again, like Ramit has a book, a new edition out to his book. Go check out his book. It's a good book, but it's like,
Ramit has fantastic advice. I definitely recommend, his stuff, but his homepage is garbage.
Okay. It loaded pretty fast from what I could see, but I'm on a like gigabit situation.
They've made some decent optimizations. It's not great. Smart passive income, they did the best they could. Boy, that thing is a huge dinosaur. But they've 3.538 seconds to document complete on Pat Flynn's site. The page is 1.29 megabytes. That's huge. Contrast that with the DIY Themes homepage, which I think is something like 200 kilobytes. So 1/6 the size. And Pat's site has 56 requests for document complete. That is just a boatload of requests. But like I said, they've done the best they could trying to fit all that crap in there and still have it load fast. I'm going to, while we're talking here, I'll run a test on Ramit's site and we'll get a little bit more concrete data. But the hero thing, it's just a way it doesn't translate between different devices, a vertically oriented device, a horizontally oriented device. Zero translation there. It loses effect. This promise on his homepage, he's probably looking at the numbers saying, oh, well, the quiz is getting good engagement. Well, that's because your nav menu is boring. There's nothing to tell me how to parse it. And this is the only option you've given people, even if the other flows on the page don't make any sense. Anecdote, on DIYthemes.com, I got rid of pretty much all options to link and go places. I still have a navigation menu in my footer. Since I changed my navigation structure on July 6th of this summer, the engagement with the links in my footer has gone way, way up. There's a reason why this is the case. People now go all the way through my pages. They get down all the way through the content, which they didn't do as much before. So now they're all the way to the bottom of the content. They're going, well, what the hell do I do now? They're mindlessly clicking on crap in that bottom menu. My privacy policy page has gotten more visits since July 6th than it got in the previous 10 years.
Yeah, when you were redesigning stuff, I was like, what am I looking for? So yeah, I was like trying to find stuff and just clicking around. So I probably was like a couple dozen of those.
Yeah, well,
it works. And quick note is we're just waiting for some of those results. Like I've purchased a few of Ramit's courses, some of the more expensive ones. I never took the quiz. So I never took the quiz. Like I went elsewhere. So
I think this is interesting. I'm sure he knows, but like we know from like telemarketer data and from other brand data that people are very reticent to take quizzes unless you get offer a freebie.
Yeah.
So I find this odd. I find this whole presentation odd, and I think too, like I said with Pat Flynn's site, it's true of Ramit's site as well. When you are a big presence, you have books, you have videos, you do interviews. You know, he's probably going to get 500 visitors today through an interview he did with Tim Ferriss years ago. Okay, but so he's got all these streams just leading people to his site with an idea about what they can expect. The way this is going to work for him is going to be better than it will work for you because of this. And I'm saying it's not even working that well for him. And he's got no way to look at clean data now because Ramit can tell, hey, take action. And he's going to get a much higher percentage of respondents taking action because he's Ramit Sethi. He's viewed as being authoritative. Yep. So it's hard to unravel this stuff once you get to it, but it's really all about understanding how attention works. And if you give people a chance to click on random crap, they will do that. That gets them into a mindset I call aimless browsing. Aimless browsing does not produce money for you. Doesn't produce opt-ins, doesn't produce leads, doesn't produce engagement, does not produce money. You don't want people browsing aimlessly on your website. You might have in 2009, so you had good metrics, but it doesn't matter if it doesn't convert. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
Okay, Ramit's site loads in 5.72 seconds, document complete. That page size, that tiny homepage, which is much smaller than Pat Flynn's, much smaller, doesn't do, I mean, we went through it, it doesn't do anything. Ramit's page, 2.82 megabytes. For what?
It's all those, this huge image here or something, and he has really good skin, it looks like, thick hair, like you, Chris.
Yeah, maybe he wanted that really high resolution so he looked as good as possible. Listen, I just did a big image on a little project I just took on over the weekend. And optimizing images is a huge, huge deal. I had an image that started off at about 600 kilobytes, and I squished that effort down to about 59 kilobytes for production use on the website. This is what you have to do. And, speed, performance, accessibility on all devices. You're in line at Chipotle looking this up on your phone after you click through from a tweet with a garbage 4G connection with one bar. You don't have time to load Ramit's beautiful face. You just don't.
No. Do you eat at Chipotle a lot?
All the time.
Big fan. Yeah. What's your go-to? What's your go-to order?
Okay. It's a bowl, no rice, very easy on the black beans, add veggies, hopefully more onions than anything else for anti-inflammatory qualities. Barbacoa, a little more than just your regular scoop. I know what they do in training. I don't care. I want more. Pico, hot, cheese, guac. Perfection.
That sounds awesome. I may go there later today or you must be a spokesperson for them or something. So
I should be. I guarantee you.
Put it in my head.
Since the year 2000, I have eaten more Fresh Mex between Qdoba is another one and Chipotle since the year 2000. I've eaten more of that than anyone on the planet. I guarantee it. Qdoba had a customer loyalty program where every 10 visits you got a free burrito. And they used to do punch cards. Well, once they switched to like a credit card style, I had redeemed 110 free burritos on the card. This was after I'd gone through many punch cards on that. So that suggests 1,100 burritos. And then I had another card with about 100. So I had redeemed like 210 free ones, which suggests over 2,000 burrito purchases. And not only that, I used to receive free ones all the time because I went all the time. So I knew all the staff. They're like, hey, no, you don't have to pay. Yeah. That kind of thing. So you start adding that up. It's like, my God, man, how much did you eat there? Yeah.
That's great. Well, and you're in Austin. You have many choices for great, fresh Tex-Mex kind of stuff, right? So.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to turn into Tex-Mex when I'm like 60.
All right.
So Ramit's site also 45 requests, very, very slow. No reason for it to be slow, just brutal. It's a terrible homepage. Homepages need to be fast, need to be to the point. This one is not. He might say, oh, the quiz is what I want to satisfy right now. Okay, great. You win the argument. I leave.
All right. And let's move on to Marie Forleo here. So I'm not sure if I'm at the top. I'm going to reload this just so we get the fresh look.
Yeah. I think that was the exit intent popover. Oh, boy.
Okay. Uh-oh.
Boy.
All right, there we go.
Oh, my God.
So Big Hero animated in this case.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I see stuff like this. See, here's the thing. Marie's like Ramit, and she's like Pat. Everyone knows who Marie is. Everyone loves Marie. Marie is one of the most loved people that I'm aware of. And She doesn't need to do this. She doesn't need a moving Marie on her homepage. What does this do? Does that sell better? All that does is take longer to load. It does nothing for her. She looks great even if she's not moving. She doesn't need to be moving. I look at this and I think the best that the book is here thing at the top in pink probably gets all the engagement. I bet the about link gets a little bit of engagement. And I bet people kind of scroll through this and kind of watch the page. I bet you've got, if you did eye tracking, you would see that people kind of do this. Stuff's happening. Okay, yeah, probably not clicking that. Keep going. I'm still scrolling. People scrolling fast. Yeah, no, just skip that. That's not relevant right now. You know what that is? No, that's not a very, like, how is that connected? Like, I can see, so this is a white paper that she wants people to get, but it's kind of presented in the flow where it's disjointed. It's not compelling in this context. It might be compelling standalone. If that was like a featured box at the top of the homepage instead of her picture, which is useless, it would probably get great engagement and drive exactly the kind of, you get people into your funnel. See, here's the thing. Any of these big personalities, they have quite a few concepts that their audience has latched onto and found helpful over the years. They have quite a few threads of thought that are like their main sort of intellectual assets. You want to get people engaging with these, but they're going to pick the one that or one or more that has the flavor that they're looking for. Question is, how do you do this? Well, I've learned recently, I've really started to come to grips with this reality, is that you cannot do it in one visit. It is not how it occurs. That's how we treat the website, though. We're like, oh, we need to be exhaustive on this one visit. No. Real engagement happens on between 3 and 5 visits. This is a crazy thing to realize. So you have to understand, all you can do is get a hook on visit 1. Visit 1, hook. Visit 2, peak interest. The second interaction somebody has with you, you want to get them thinking. You want to get them thinking about something that is like your intellectual output. Or maybe a product that you have, thinking about some asset that you have. On the third, then you're trying to convince to buy. That's the persuasion, the deep persuasion when you want to undertake that. But that's the third visit, the third interaction. I know from customer data, historical data on DIY themes, people don't buy till the third or fourth visit. It's just the way it is. Yet I have for years tried to vomit out everything on them in the first visit. It's just not effective.
Right.
And that's sort of what's happening here. Marie needs to scrap all this, scrap her image, scrap that. One call to action at the top, get people into the funnel, get them involved, and then present them with maybe 3 things that might be of interest, and then get them picking these funnels, going deeper and deeper into her little intellectual domain here. That is how you achieve engagement. That's how you drive this stuff effectively, not this, what is this? Marie doesn't need social proof. People have seen her on Oprah.
A little more animation here.
This with the TV. No one cares, Marie. It doesn't matter right now. Get them into your main page. Get them on an opt-in. Send them to a page like, hey, this is all my cool stuff. I got this TV thing. You can learn about these concepts here. I've got this white paper. Do this, and then you can get these results. A little cause and effect sequence after someone's already taken an action to indicate that they are interested in what you may the concepts that you may be talking about, then they're primed to take an action. Right now, a visitor comes here, they're not primed to take any action. Now they're seeing all this disparate stuff. I don't see how this fits together. Marie looks important. Maybe I'll follow her on Twitter. Close window.
Yep, they're with Oprah. Yeah. So. Okay.
Branson, come on.
Yeah.
Tony Robbins, she's standing on a step there.
He's on his
he's on his knees.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So pretty lot of stuff going on. Simpler menu. So I'll mention that there's a simpler menu here. There's
simpler. I think it's probably more effective. Click on that more link. Let's see what that does.
Oh. Yeah.
Just honestly, what you see in this pop-up should probably be her homepage. I swear to God. I am not kidding. That would be a better homepage. Just what you see on that pop-up menu, that'd be a way better homepage.
Got it. All right. So for contrast, and I guess a place where you can reveal some data, Chris, we can go to DIY themes where you have recently sort of simplified a lot of things. And
we should look at yours too, by the way. But anyway, We'll do this. Yeah, so this is the DIY themes homepage. So the biggest thing I've done recently, and we talked about this, is the navigation. Okay, so I do have a menu here at the top. It's very simple. It's very simple. I know the queries that bring people to my site. It's for the new Focus WordPress theme, old stuff about Thesis, which is still relevant. And then I've got a new blog with some content about, modern performance techniques, things to do to make WordPress websites faster, that sort of thing. And then I got to log in for existing customers because that's a convenience thing for them. But let's click on Focus. Okay. Now we have a breadcrumb trail at the top. Breadcrumb trails are not options in the same way that navigation menus are options. Breadcrumb trails describe a pathway, a linear pathway. Linear pathways are like the most fundamental thing humans use for wayfinding, for navigation. It's like a path, a trail in the park. You can't screw this up. You just stay on the trail, and eventually you'll get where you want to go. That's what a breadcrumb trail is all about. This introduces zero cognitive load. A user looks at this, understands what it is, doesn't think about it anymore. They just know it's a security blanket. Hey, if I want to go back, I can just do this. Then they're not thinking about that. Also, I talked about funneling. You don't want to just vomit everything on people at once. I don't want to link to Focus documentation and pricing on the homepage. You're either here to look at Focus or you're not. If you are, you clicked on Focus or read the copy and clicked on it through there, got there through a different route, same result. Now on this page, that stuff is relevant. You might want to look at Focus documentation, especially if you're an existing user, and you might want to look at pricing if you don't currently have the software. These are what's the number one question people have? Is there more information? What's the price? So I'm only showing these options within this particular funnel because I know you're here for Focus. This is now what's relevant to you. And you'll notice there's only two options. That's not asking too much of you. If you want to make this decision, I'm confident you will be able to do so.
Okay. Quick interruption. So just to restate, so when someone's on this page, this is the menu that they have. This menu doesn't show up in other places, right?
That is correct.
Got it.
And then if we scroll down a little bit, this just deep dives into Focus stuff. There's no sidebar. There's no other stuff to do. It's just you go through this, you learn more about this product. I want people learning about this thing on this page. That's the only thing that, that's what will lead to you either connect with this, or and if you don't connect with it, you'll leave, and that's fine. I don't have to capture anything. I don't have to ask you for your email address. This is either going to work for you and you're going to be interested and go farther or not. And that's fine. And I don't need to badger you to try to get you on a list or do an exit intent pop-up because you suddenly scrolled back up and that indicates you might want to leave. And now I desperately want to get you on the list because I might not make this sale. No, those are desperate, crappy tactics that also slow down your pages. Like, don't look desperate. Pathetic.
I see we have a link here, so this dives down into some documentation. So you're giving a little how-to, and you're hoping people will think, "Hey, I like that. I want to do a little more." So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is an interesting thing. This is actually a test. That link, the presence of that link. So I've presented quite a few videos here. I don't even talk about all the aspects of Focus or do the normal theme thing, like show the 27 critical features that people are looking for. It's just stupid. I'd rather people watch me demonstrate the software in these videos. And so I have a really persuasive video that actually it's a long video. That's why I link it to a separate page here to kind of see if people will go to that and then take action. It is having that effect. But that page, if you learn how to create rich, engaging pages with Focus, if people watch that whole video, they will buy the product. So I definitely want to link to that because I know it's a potent video, but I also know not that many people are watching that full video. It's a very small percentage, about 6% of people that go to that page. And I don't know which percentage of those are existing customers versus new. Okay. But it is persuasive. No other theme does what I show there. That really shows you, if people are wondering like, oh, Gutenberg, I can do all this cool stuff with my posts. I show you how to destroy that with a simpler editor with using basic Focus stuff. Could not be easier. Anyway, linking to that because I feel like it's very persuasive.
Gotcha. All right, cool.
And that's okay. You want to drive people deeper into the funnels that you have. And I have a lot of Focus stuff, and I'm just picking and choosing the little pieces I want to expose people to at this point in the process.
Right. Top navigation is pretty simple, and then you have the full menu, this is a full navigation down here, right?
Yeah, part of that, part of that footer presence is for legal concerns and also for search engine optimization, which we talked about before we came on the air.
Hmm.
I have been doing a bunch of SEO optimization and have taken various measures to increase the visibility link-wise of various pages on the site. So I don't love that there's that many options in the footer navigation menu. Like I said, people will get to the bottom of my pages now and randomly click on these, and these really don't do a lot for me because I get them to the bottom of the page, and if they're not fully engaged, trying to go deeper to learn about focus or whatever, they're just going to take some random action. It's fine. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What's the difference between that and then forcing them to scroll back up to the top? There's not much.
Right. Okay, cool. Anything else on DIY themes that you want to point out?
You click the blog link there. I think we overdo blogs. I think we really overdo blogs. This could not be simpler. I'm not presenting a bunch of content. I'm not showing excerpts. Nobody wants to read that. Just have good titles. If it works, people will click on it. And not only that, like I said, we don't browse websites. Every one of those posts, except for that special report, that was a little test I'm running. It's been very effective. That link is getting massive engagement on this page. I knew it would. So if you have like white papery type content or like conceptual stuff that you really want people to buy into, this is a great way to present it. It looks important. It goes to a simple page. People engage with that content because it's designed for people just to start engaging immediately. And it's been effective. That's driven a couple sales right there. That's great. But there's other links. These are just regular blog posts. How do people see your blog posts now? Well, you link to them in an email you send out to your list. You link to them on Twitter or Facebook or wherever they engage through social media and end up directly on that page, not on this page. So why have a blog page that shows a bunch of excerpts and, basically presents people with a ton of stuff? It looks imposing. People don't want to consume a lot of content. You don't want to greet people with a wall of text. It's a very bad idea. So this is simple. This accomplishes the SEO benefits of linking to the stuff, like linking a headline to a full article page would do. There's just basically no reason in 2019, given the way we use internet, to have a slow blog page that does anything more than list your damn posts.
Right. And one thing I want to point out too is that, I was brainwashed by a lot of folks who were like, oh, you want to have like these custom images. So I don't know why. And then basically you put the blog title on some image and then you fill up this blog page with these images and like the excerpts like you're talking about. And, really, I don't think people really care if I did a custom image for whatever blog post. Like, they don't really care. They just want to read the information, at least for my site anyway. So
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. I'm going to pull up a thing. I've got an old post on DIY themes about when to use images and like what the maximum, like the best effect of them is. And it actually has nothing to do with the image itself. It's quite funny. So while I locate this, though, the Marie Forleo report finally ran here. Her site loads in 12.8 seconds, has 146 requests. The DIY themes homepage has 7. And it's 5.6 megabytes. It's not the worst web page I've ever seen. It's very, very bad. This is a patient in the hospital who is very sick. It's not looking good. Not looking good.
But she's been on Oprah, so she could commit a couple.
I guess I will say her site is not working for her as well as it should. But for somebody like her, and for a lot of these people now, the website is not a very important channel. Is not nearly as much as video and podcasts. But here's the thing. Part of the reason for that is because these websites are terrible. If these websites were simpler and better, this would be a very facilitative resource. Very. You could link to it in descriptions on YouTube. The page loads immediately with exactly the promise of the information that brought people there. That is an enhanced transaction, and it builds trust. If people built their whole repertoire on this kind of cause and effect, delivery, promise and delivery sort of mechanism, they would get a lot better results, and these websites wouldn't be neglected, and people wouldn't be saying, the web, it just doesn't matter anymore.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I'm gonna pull up my site so we could kind of run through that one. But Chris, while I'm doing that, can you just kind of give us a little data that you have with engagement after you've made these changes?
Yes, that's a good question there. I put that in an email. Let's see if I can find that email with the exact data. Here we go. Okay, so the first thing to say is I changed the navigation for DIY themes on July 6th to this breadcrumb and funnel based structure where I give people no options basically. And what is very interesting about this is that, so I had to do this because Google shut off 91% of my traffic in April. And so with a lot less traffic, I was seeing a lot less sales. And so I had a problem that I had to address. I needed to make the absolute best possible use of the traffic I did have. I had to maximize what I had because I didn't have very much. So pressure put me in that situation. By making this change, I was able to increase the value of my traffic by about 27% across the board. Page views per session went up 27.56% after instituting this arrangement. You might look at that and say, huh, well, the deal is I had fewer options to browse around with the new structure. So how can you have more page views per session if you're linking to fewer things? The deal is engagement. People are more connected with what I have. I do have a couple links in the content. I do have a couple links in the top nav. My informational transactions are tighter. People like promise and delivery is much more clear. There's not like a random, just link to this because this is an important asset. I give people a specific reason to delve deeper, and that results in better engagement. It's not rocket science, but when you look at the last 10 years of internet and you just see links everywhere, it's like, that's kind of, it's kind of like a counterintuitive thing, which is just insane. So page views per session. So if someone comes to my site, they're viewing 27% more pages than they were before. The average session duration, that means the time people spend on my site, is up 29.5%. There's a concomitant factor here, and that is people go farther down my pages. They consume more of the content. They watch more of the videos. They're clicking on more things. Bounce rate is down 8.4%, and it was already down a bunch just because of focus, because I don't have a sidebar. There's not a lot, it's not imposing visually to look at any of my pages. I always try to break up the top section so there's like a sort of summary that you can read and expect. I bold stuff for easy scanning. I try never to have an imposing wall of text that isn't broken up by something that looks interesting. I don't have any images here. I kind of want some images there to kind of just be visually exciting. But here's the thing. There's just no imagery that's currently going to go along with any of this stuff that helps it. It's just not going to help it.
What about, well, you've obviously already thought of this, but I was just like, what about some sort of analytics data, like what you're describing, where it's like engagement's up and people see like the green number with a plus 27 point whatever percent? People like those sort of graphs, right?
Yes. So I could put something like that in. That's a great point. And that might be the type of imagery I need to put out there. Absolutely. If you go to the thesis page on this site, some imagery is pertinent there, especially since I kind of do a deep dive on explaining it. So you will encounter some images there. The focus page just has videos because I think the videos tell a lot more than one silly picture is ever going to tell. But if you go down, it's like pretty far into the content when I start throwing images out there. But like to explain some of these concepts, I start to introduce images where it's appropriate,
Sure.
So people can kind of see what to expect. That's a little one, obviously. There's a couple more. But, obviously not going overboard with it, but I'm not doing a hero image that adds absolutely no value. Site owners, I want to impress this point upon the audience to the maximum. You want images because you think it looks cooler. Your visitors absolutely do not care. All it does is increase loading times and force them to scroll through a little bit and take more of a vertical scroll, especially in a mobile environment, to get to what they came to see. If it's not 100% germane and actually enhances the value of what you're trying to say, like helps you say it better because the picture shows you what words cannot, it should not be there. Not some calming picture of a woman at a beach holding her hat with the sunset in the background. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with your content. Does not help your message. Does not matter. Look at yours.
Okay.
Yours.
So we are coming up toward the end of time and...
The end of time. Anyway, the point I wanted to make, I couldn't find the blog post about using images in blog posts. You want to use a half of your content width image. Align it to the right and have it be at the very top. And the reason you want to do this has nothing to do with the image and everything to do with the fact that constraining the text to 55 characters or less, people in studies show an affinity for reading that because it looks easy. Those first 3 or 4 lines of text are very easy to consume. And what we know is that you can almost trap people like a zombie. You can get them to read the first 50 words of your copy by choking that text on the left side of the column, just like that. And before they've even had a chance to think about what they're doing, they've read 50 words of your content and may well venture all the way down the page. It's an attention hack. It is the absolute only beneficial reason to use an image at the top of a post.
Awesome. Yes, I actually know exactly which post you're talking about. I think Derek wrote that when I read it
Derek
on your
did
blog
write it.
a long time ago. The
Yes.
perfect blog formatting or something like that.
Something like that. I can't find the damn thing, but it does exist.
I'll find it. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Right.
so here's my page. I am sort of in the middle of changing it up, but since you put out Focus, a few months ago, I've simplified things. So
Yes.
no hero image, all right? So I realized my bald head isn't necessarily, pulling people in. So I took that off the top part here, but go ahead, let me have it.
Okay, so on the top section here, this download now. Is this thing free that people can get?
Yes.
You need to make sure that they know it's free. It needs to be very big, very clear right there. Download this free thing, get some value right this freaking second. I would also encourage you to have a little bit of text underneath that button. So it's a reassurance thing. So we know that people will see stuff like this and kind of hem and haw if they're not immediately sold. So if you provide a supplemental boost to the value that they might receive just after that, just one line of text, something maybe with one little bolded phrase, some little catchy hook. I mentioned this earlier. We'll call back this concept. You want to hook people on first visit. You have another little subtle psychological opportunity for a hook there to get people to download that thing. You can do that. So indicate that it's free. Add the other subtle psychological hook after the button. Quoted or featured on might work here. I don't know if this is where it should appear in the run of what's happening here. I almost feel like you should introduce yourself in this section. Instead of quoted or featured on, say, hey, I'm Doug. I did this, this, and this. You might find this particular thing interesting. Identify one thread of content that you may have or some little journey that people can relate to or maybe find an affinity for that makes them want to go deeper and to trust you. Because right now I don't know what's quoted or featured. Right now it looks like almost like this faceless entity given the top of the site. Then we go into a little social proof thing here. Do you have more than just this one?
Yes.
Okay.
I have quite a few, and I think I put one other down here.
I see you've interspersed them. Yes. Okay. I think we go back to the quoted on, have that be an introduction to you. Then I would go into the not this testimonial. Go to the next section, the what you'll learn, setting up expectations. You want to set them up, knock them down. At that point, after that is done, maybe have a couple testimonials to kind of reinforce, because you just present to people what they can expect, and then you can present them with some testimonials to reinforce the message you just gave them.
Perfect. Got it.
And then for the golden ratio keyword calculator,
yes.
I don't know that you should mention that in such a brief way unless you can link people to something that they can see.
Okay.
I just think it's probably not effective and therefore just shouldn't be there.
Okay.
But if there's something they can take action on, that is kind of a hooky sort of element. So if there's something that is fun to take action with there, then keep it and put it in there. But if there's not a hooky action, then not.
Okay. Got it. So testimonial, move it up. One more last ditch, big green button.
I feel like that should probably be explained better.
Okay.
Like, I did these things and you could maybe do this too, something like that. If you're going to do this, then do that.
Okay.
Here's the Doug section. I thought there was a Doug section.
Yep.
That should probably be the second thing. You'll have to play with the copy there.
Yep.
People don't care about your credentials. They care about what you did.
Yep. Okay.
And then you've got the start here.
Which I used to send people to the blog page, which was just kind of a joke. So now it's a choose your own adventure. You help me work through some of this. Ongoing work in progress, but definitely tighter than it was.
Yeah. So we've mentioned the About page. The About page is the most important page on most websites because it's going to be the number one item that gets clicked on in a navigation menu. If you want to be derpy and argue that home gets clicked on more, whatever, go play in your own sandbox. You don't need me. But About, most important link in your navigation menu because it's sticky. People see it, they want to click on that. Okay, so About link's huge. Another link that's very interesting. So like I'm saying this to reinforce your start here approach, which I think is very good. Blog page useless, like you said, you already alluded to that. So Derek Sivers, who a lot of people know, he came up with this idea of a now page, which I think is very, very smart. You can show people what you are doing right now on your now page. I think it has a similar effect to the start here page. So you might want to consider, if you're watching this, having a now page or having a start here page. I think it's very good. Just driving people to your blog, like I said, practically useless in today's environment. People are going to go to your blogs in a secondhand manner by clicking on a link on social media to go directly to a blog post. It's much less likely they're ever going to be on the main blog page. Even less likely still that they're going to be browsing that with any kind of intent to do anything for you, like buy or whatever. So start here page or a now page. Definitely have an About page. Another one I thought of this morning that I think I might incorporate on my own site is a story page, which I kind of tell maybe briefly, almost like a tweet, like, okay, I did this, delivered this on this day, and just have like a little, like this is the story of 2019, and there might be 28 items by the end of the year. It could be interesting, and there's an opportunity within some of those to link to interesting things.
Got it. Nice. All right. Well, anything else on my site here, Chris?
I know you've been working on some of your funnels, so like let's look at the Amazon affiliate link.
Okay.
The one in the nav bar. Oh, there you go.
Yeah. And so this sort of like outlines the process. This is one of the highest traffic like areas. So there's a lot of content on here just in general. So
yeah, I would move that image up to the very top of the content so it chokes the first few sentences.
Yeah. Okay.
Definite. Okay. I would also kill the avatar on the byline.
Okay.
It unbalances the page. I couldn't figure out how to work that in there in a way I liked. This is called the focus display mode, presentation mode, where the content is centered on desktop like this. That's just for audience benefit. But I think if you're in readability, the avatar can stay. But if it's not, just get rid of it on this.
Okay, gotcha. I was going to say if it's just a one-line headline, the spacing gets a little funny. I was actually going to ask you about it. But yeah, I don't need my picture around, so. I have a bunch of YouTube stuff.
I agree about the one-line headline. It's just not good. It shouldn't be there.
Okay, cool. And then I have, links throughout, and let's dive into like one of the specific links so that we can see the breadcrumb trail in action.
Okay, yeah. Hold tight. So I think the way you've done this is great. There's no navigation menu on this page. That's smart. Did you know content is the best navigation menu? Right? Get people into your content. They're getting deeper ideas. Links are presented with context rather than a navigation menu, which is free of context. So you don't need we need to unthink some of these things that we just think are axiomatic. They're just not. Links within content are way more powerful than links in the navigation menu. So the way he's doing this here is exactly how I would advise to do this. This is a funnel. Get people into the funnel, drive them down through the funnel. And then, here we see a more enhanced breadcrumb trail. We are in the funnel. We're in his Amazon affiliate guide funnel. This is the keyword research page. This is pretty easy to figure out what's happening here.
Cool. And here I actually did it correctly. I choked it down. We have the big image over here, short lines, and gets them into it.
Yes. I feel like this is probably a very effective web page.
I hope it is. Awesome.
And, just another point about that. So links within context or within content have context. And the thing is, and I said, people are going to need to visit 3, 4, 5 times before they're really going to take any meaningful action or have any connection that works for them and for you, like maybe in the form of a sale, an opt-in or whatever. And that is a complex thing. It's not achieved through one link in a navigation menu. People need the context. The context is your content. So unless you are driving people down through your content effectively, you literally have nothing. And you cannot capitalize on that 3rd, 4th, 5th visit sort of thing unless you also have channels that are doing this for you, videos or podcasts, that kind of thing.
Got it. Very cool. And just a quick note before we finish up here, I have only had this implemented for, maybe a couple weeks. Traffic has been a little bit funny, but the results reflect what you're talking about, what you alluded to, Chris. So like longer sessions, more pages per session, opt-ins are up. So that's sort of my main goal across everything is to like get people on the email list, and then I can continue to build a relationship or whatever it is I need to do. So things seem pretty good, and I'm trying to roll it out to different silos so that, when we have the SEO benefit, you got the navigational benefit, and it just makes more sense, right? Like looking at our other areas, if someone lands on this keyword research for niche sites, like they've ended up there for a reason, and they're probably interested in this guide right here. So if they do happen to land on this, however they get there, then they can go back here and then continue their adventure. So.
I also recommend, I need to institute this on one part of my personal site, but when you have a funnel like this, I think it's probably a good idea at the end of the content to offer people a link back to the main funnel as well, just because that reinforces the sense of place. And it's my way of fighting back at people taking just a random action after they've consumed all the content on a page, to kind of remind them, hey, you were here. Let's make sure you stay on task if that's what you wanted to do. So I do want to make one more. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, sort of like this, where it's like we're at the end of the content, or there's a bunch of other stuff at the bottom, but like basically they finished the main part of the content, and I was like, hey, don't forget, like go to the next section right here.
Yeah, I would even, if that's going to be the case, I would almost like to see that presented in a way that indicates more order.
Okay.
Like, hey, do this next. I wouldn't even present them options. I'd say, hey, this is the next action you need to take. Take this action. This is the next action. This is your next step, or go back to the main page.
Okay.
Two options only. If you can have two or fewer, that's what you do. And best case scenario, 0 options. You lead them and you tell them what you want them to do.
Perfect. Okay, what's your last point?
So the last point I want to make here is that it's about email opt-ins, because there's always pushback here, and there's always this notion, well, Chris, I might as well have the pop-up and the exit intent and all that. It converts better. I get more opt-ins this way. And I say, okay, you're right. I've tested it. You're right. Pop-ups produce more emails on your list. Let me ask you a question now. Have you ever analyzed your list after getting all those signups to see how valuable it is, how engaged that particular list is? What's the quality of the engagement that you have? When you get opt-ins through pop-ups like that, you get shitty engagement. You get shitty quality people. You get neophyte type people on internet. I'm not saying you can't sell to them. I'm just saying it's less effective. You got grandma over here who doesn't know what the hell just happened with the pop-up, but she enters her email address because she doesn't know better and doesn't know how this stuff works. And now you have a lead that is absolutely worthless. But it did convert. Good for you. Now, what Doug is talking about, he said that since he switched to this more constrained format, his opt-ins are up. I'm going to sit here and go out on a limb and say, I bet the quality of those opt-ins is higher as well. These people were engaged. He drove them down through some content. They didn't get there randomly. He didn't shove a message in front of anybody's face. They took a voluntary action because he piqued interest. And now he's got somebody on his list that's not cold. They are very much warmed up. This is not just some list sign up in a sidebar, some passive thing. He actively acquired these leads. Leads that are acquired actively are bazillion times better. You can't even compare them to cold leads. You just can't.
And thank you for saying that. And I think I do have some pop-up action. I'm thinking about reducing some of this, but it's like a person has to take, they click this thing won't close, but
that's not good reinforcement.
They have to click. They are asking for it. So I'm trying to reduce like you said, the exit intent kind of stuff. Like, hey, if people want to bounce off, that's cool. Maybe we're not a good fit. That's fine. So
yeah, you got to accept that. You're not going to win every.
Yeah.
Baseball hitters don't get a hit every at bat for sure.
Indeed. All right, Chris, thanks a lot for joining me today. This was enlightening, and people could find you at DIY Themes. Anywhere else you want to people to check out?
DIY Themes for now, or my Twitter if you're an absolute savage. Right. Careful. But definitely check out DIY Themes, and just this message of simplicity. And the unspoken benefit of this whole thing is when your website is simplified in this manner, it's easier to run. The design's easier. Your customizations are easier. Stuff that breaks is easier to troubleshoot and fix. I can't tell you how many sites I see where somebody's like, oh, my email form's effed up. And I go in to look at it. You can't just fix the email form. There's like 18 layers of entanglements because they're using Divi and this other page builder. And they've got this other stuff and caching. And they don't know how to undo all these parts of the process so they can make one intuitive change. My whole thing is keep it simple, keep it intuitive for everyone, your visitors. And by doing that, you'll keep it intuitive for yourself so that you can be adaptable and be agile and make changes that actually produce positive results.
Well said. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks for having me, dude. This is fun.